Will that lower the standard of nurses that we get?
I think that's a twofold question. So I think making it free, yes. I think because you need some kind of attraction to the long hours, the prac. There needs to be a reward. You know, you're working for free for so long, you're coming out with a 40 grand debt. So that side, yes, I do think would attract more people. But on the standards, I think the standards are already too borderline. I think there are 100% in my experience, particularly as an EN or where I went to school, some people that should not be nurses. They struggle to coherently be, like an emergency situation. They would end up, it would overwhelm them and they would be quiet and they wouldn't know what they're doing. Yeah. I've seen teachers help students through exams that's illegal. They shouldn't have. I definitely think the standard should not drop any further. But I mean, this is what you're going to get when you pay people peanuts. So why would someone of good intelligence and good drive and good ethics choose to do this in the future? I mean, there will still be people, but there won't be the volume of people when there's so many other industries that pay more. And end of the day, what's one of their life's biggest pressures is money. So a lot of people forego what they're passionate about for money. So they might be passionate about nursing, but they probably still won't choose it if they're going to come out worse.
No, that's right.
But I definitely think the standards still need to stay, you know, pretty strict.
Still wouldn't drive me to go and spray perfume on people in Myers.
No, yeah. You still need the stimulation, to be honest. And then, you know what, when you're in the industry, you then find out ways to earn more. There is agency work, there's night shift work, there's different stuff you can do to make a decent wage at the end of the day. It's just the majority of people are not on good money. So when I first graduated as an EN, it was peak COVID. I took jobs that they couldn't fill spots. So I had no issue with COVID. I was like, okay, drop me into the middle of nursing home. You've got, you know, the unrealistic situation. So this is how bad it was. I had just graduated. I've got no practical experience. I'm on night shift on my own. The only other people in the facility are carers, and I have got anywhere from like 30 to 40 patients on my own. Granted, it's night, they're meant to be asleep, but any more than two of them wake up and we are all screwed. And that is, but it paid $70 an hour and an EN normally gets 32. So I jumped at it. I had zero experience, but they were desperate. And I had to send a couple people to hospital, like their stats just dropped, oxygen out of the wahoo. But crazy, like that's how bad your health industry got. You were plucking people out of nothing and dropping them to a 1-to-40 ratio because at the end of the day, carers are not able to do anything.
And that's where that when in doubt, ship them out comes in, isn't it?
Crazy.
Because they can't diagnose, they can't prescribe. Edith Cowan, are you doing the combined mental health? Because we did the mental side of it as well as part of our degree.
So two of the semesters in the whole, what do you do for? So there's 2 years that I'm doing and two of them have had mental health. I did a lot of that as an EN, but last semester and this semester has a mental health component for sure. I did, was it Bunbury Mental Health, which is one off Greyland, so it still has criminal as well.
And that's where I did mine.
Did you? Bunbury?
No.
Oh, Greylands.
Greylands in Franklin Ward, which is the criminally insane.
Yeah, I loved it. I did. I got the criminal one down in Bunbury and shit, this stuff you don't hear in the media.
I know. And you're sitting around playing games with them basically.
Yeah.
I was playing Connect 4 with this guy and eventually I got the guts to sort of say, what are you doing here? And he was an average dude. And he said, I killed my friend and threw a television on his wife and stomped on him. And I thought, you win.
Oh, it's crazy, eh? There was this one, I love that stuff. It is full on. Like, it's people that you would never suspect. So I did 3 weeks in Bunbury. It was by the second week. So they have their normal ward and then you go out to this area and it's all glass there so they can see everything. And I was reading a lot of the patient files to come up with it. And this kid kept knocking on this door and he'd get your attention because he can see you and he waves at you. And he got a bit of a fascination with me because he was quite young. Yeah. And he always had a 4-in-1. So he always had 4 security guards to his one person all the time. And they can't separate things. Eventually, and I kept hearing, so besides that, I kept hearing handover about this person, but I never heard any like specific details of age or anything. Yeah. And it was a guy that had stabbed his mother and he'd stabbed a nurse. It was so premeditated. He was so thought out that, for example, when the male nurse came, it was lunchtime, they're trying to feed him. He poured pepper on his food himself so that when he ate it, he would cough so that he would drool. And so he drooled all over the floor. The nurse came up behind him to bend over to wipe it up. He then grabbed his knife, went under the table and went to get him in the eye, in the face. It was lucky the nurse had glasses on, like reading glasses, and it smashed the glasses but saved his eye. But that's how thought out the thing was. And it turns out to be this kid that's got a fascination. And I was like, oh, my God. And this kid looks like nothing. There was another one that was in there that was a doctor, that was a patient. And he would tell all the other patients what all the medications did to freak them out so they wouldn't take it. So he'd work against you. And he was the first person I ever gave injections to. I had to practice on him.
Yeah.
And it was so nerve-wracking because he's a doctor, but he's also like, not quite fully in control. And I found mental health fascinating. I don't think I would go down that career path because I like the more medically side of nursing, like the blood and the gore.
Yeah.
But it was fascinating.
Yeah, it is fascinating.
And like people that would turn on the radio and hear Jesus tell them what to do. And you're like, I've never heard any of this in the media. And they're walking the street like crazy, but good. They'll do a walk, and this person at a snow globe, and we're walking for like half an hour, and I'm talking to her, and she's perfectly normal.
Yeah.
And then I go, what's in your snow globe? Like, look at that. That's pretty cool. She goes, yeah, it's my daughter. She died like 6 years ago. And like she just had this image that her daughter had been reincarnated as this statue in a snow globe. But just came out of nowhere.
It's so real.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Hey, you know what complements great conversations is fine wine, and there is nothing finer than a bottle of Plantagenet wine. Whether you're relaxing after a long shift, at a gathering with friends, or lounging by the fire, Plantagenet wine provides the perfect complement to any occasion. Plantagenet wine is meticulously crafted in one of the most remote locations in the world, using finest ingredients available to create elegant and sophisticated wines that you deserve. Head to plantagenetwines.com for your online order and enter the code NURSES at the checkout to receive 10% off your order with free shipping Australia-wide on any order over $180. So stock up for winter or plan the perfect gift with the most enchanting collection of wines you'll ever try. Head to plantagenetwines.com and enter the code NURSES to start your Plantagenet experience.
Have to be so good at improv because the one thing about dementia is you can't fight what they say. Like it doesn't matter if you're trying to rationally explain something they don't understand.
Don't know. Yep.
So one will come in and be like, where's Audrey? And I'm like, oh, Audrey just left. I don't know who Audrey is, but I'm just saying. And
That's right.
I'll be like, go to give meds. And she's like, whose meds that? I'm like, they're yours. And she goes, what about that little boy in the corner who doesn't exist? And I'm like, oh, no, his is coming at 8 o'clock. It's interesting. Yeah.
I did a shift at a dementia ward. It was an evening shift and I had a registered nurse doing the drug round, so she wasn't any help. I had a new girl come from another ward to come and help, and myself as an agency nurse. I don't know the patients. And you're looking at these pictures that have been taken probably 10 years old and they're saying, this is my bed. So you put them in their pyjamas and you think, oh, they must have been grown out of those pyjamas. But anyway, this is my bed, this is my bed. I had people in the wrong beds. I had the wrong teeth in the wrong mouth. I had the wrong pyjamas on them. I had somebody boxing somebody across the face because he was in the bed. It was chaotic.
It is so funny but so sad. So one of my first placements ever as a fresh EN was aged care. I got the highest dementia ward, right?
Yeah.
And they gave me 5 patients to one. I've got 2 old guys punching on over the wall thinking one's Japanese, one's not. I got one lady thinking the place is burning down. I got another one trying to eat stuff off the floor. And I'm just like, what is going on? I would take childcare. Do you know what? I wouldn't because I find this funnier, but childcare would be less exhausting than dealing with uncontrollable adults that are just in another atmosphere.
These are people that had jobs. They're probably CEOs and executives and somebody's parent and somebody that was disciplining you as a child.
It's wild.
Spanking you and then suddenly they're loopy.
They're in the living room going, where's the bread? This is aisle 6. I'm not in Coles. Like, you're not in Coles, Berneth. Like, what are you doing?
Oh, God. I had one lady in Southern Cross when I was serving morning teas in a nursing home, Sadnam, and Mrs. White would go totter off across the Leach Highway. She's off to catch the bus home. Every day she'd poo, pants, down by her ankles, doop, 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 step out of those, across the Leach Highway, just like dodging cars across the bridge, Oh, God, they're just so cute.
It is.
But I wonder
cute.
how much of it is really dementia and how much is it might be a UTI.
Yeah. Well, that's the number one thing that
chemicals are
test for.
upside down. Yeah.
It's fascinating what the brain can do to you. And I got to say, again, I feel like this is probably going down too much of a rabbit hole, but the youth of today and everything that we do with our bodies, particularly like drug use and stuff, dementia is going to be phenomenal fast forward 40 years. And when I see dementia units, it's so much more heartbreaking. Like most of them are in a good mood. They just don't know what's going on. But there are ones that are constantly sad or constantly depressed or constantly confused. You would, again, me personally, I would prefer to die before I ever get to that stage because it's so friggin' sad. And then your family that's coming in and you have no idea who they are. My grandfather had that. And yeah, it's very interesting to what your own body can do to you, and I hope I'm dead before that ever happens.
I think I'd rather be mobile and have dementia than be immobile in agony. It's like, the ones that are all seized up, they can't move, they're arthritic, but their brain works.
Yeah,
and they're trying to hold a book and read a book, but they're bitter and twisted and in agony.
Absolutely. If that was a choice, yes. Yeah. I prefer to die before any of them, but if that was a choice, I would choose.
I think I'd have a lot of fun with dementia in a nursing home.
I feel like...
On the nurses. It was like payback.
Yeah.
I know what we can get up to now.
Do you know, I would think...
chuckle in the corner.
I feel like more like if you're elderly, that's your time to get away with things. Dementia or not. You're just like, what are you going to do? I'm senile. Like, make a joke. Do you know, even I went to a Chinese shop a little while ago and I was waiting for my food and there was a little old Chinese man and he's sitting there and he'd already collected his food and you could see he didn't want to leave. And so I just was like, hey, how are you? And then next minute it was an hour-long conversation. We ended up eating dinner together there.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful.
What I mean is like old people have these stories and if you never ask them, there's so much stuff you'll never get out and hear. I saw a really interesting documentary actually on Netflix of an artist that was actually famous back in the 1920s. He was in Poland. He moved to America. Fast forward, he's like 80 years old. It's like the 60s or so. His career's kind of died. Some young kid stumbled on his art book, found out he lived near him, went to his house and had a conversation with him, got him famous again in his 80s and found out all these fascinating stories from the 20s, 30s, 40s. Old people have all these hidden treasures that you don't talk to, and it breaks my heart that you can tell that they feel not heard and they feel not seen and stuff. But it is, as a nurse, overwhelming when you put like 20 of them on you and that pressure of all of that gets to you.
Oh, my God. Speaking of dementia, I've just forgot what I was going to say. I just had a brilliant moment then.
But we're getting to that age, aren't we?
No, we're not. I want to get to that age. Yeah. So with the nursing, you nearly finished this year. You have to apply for a grad program to get a job, to be working somewhere. If you don't have a grad program, then you can't get a job. If you can't get a grad program.
Nice. Okay, so I have no interest in grad programs. So a lot of them are, if you are based at going towards a hospital, yes. The problem of what they're getting is there's a lot of grad programs, but there's no employment waiting for you after. So they're interested in keeping you for that year and then they pass you on. I have no interest in doing long-term. So as I said, I've got my own other stuff going on. I've got my own business and stuff. I don't have the time to do 6 months at a time. Yep. I have a much more, for what my person is like and what I want to do, I'm much more aligned to agency because I want to get experience everywhere.
Yep.
However, I do want to start doing agency work in hospitals because it is more interesting, but I have no interest in going to a hospital for a year and doing a grad program and ending up doing a 9 to 5 there. I want to learn more, do more areas. So it used to be like that, but I do agree that grad programs are struggling to get permanent placements after because a lot of my friends are going down that track and that's what they're finding. But yeah, I've got no interest in a grad program.
No. And that's fair enough too because they're too hard to find and then you're so limiting to what
you're stuck on the what. Do you know what I find fascinating is that you become a CNS after X amount of time on that particular ward, but the second you leave that ward, you lose that title. You've still been a nurse for 15 years, but if the ward isn't something different, it doesn't count. I'm not the person that can do, like when I did the ortho ward, so many nurses have been there for 5, 10, 15 years. I can't do the same thing for that long. That's monotony. I couldn't do it. I've got no interest in that.
I've had lots of different jobs in nursing too, and that's the beauty of nursing.
Yeah, there is so many.
Going back to, it's not just about travelling and you get past that, it's poorly paid, But there's so much satisfaction, isn't it?
There is, yeah.
It's a privilege. I remembered what I was going to